In the arid hills of Laconia, where the wind carries the scent of wild thyme and the echo of hoplite footsteps dead for centuries, Dion planted olive trees. His fingers, thick and marked by sword calluses, sank into the red earth with the same precision with which he had once wielded a spear on the field of Leuctra. It had been 23 years since he left the ranks of the Spartan army, not out of cowardice, but by choice. After the humiliating defeat by the Thebans, Dion had seen his brothers-in-arms slaughtered, his generals decapitated, and his king flee like a dog. That night, he swore never again to fight for an ideal that no longer existed. Instead, he built a farm. He married Irene, a healer with a soft voice and steady hands whose eyes had seen more births than battles. They had 2 children, Lysander, 12 years old, quick as a goat and curious as a raven, and Melantha, 8, who spoke to the olive trees as if they answered back. Life was hard, but it was just. The sun burned, the earth was stony, but the oil they produced was the purest in the region, and above all, it was theirs. Until the rumors arrived. First, it was a shepherd who returned without his flock, his eyes wide with terror. A man, no, a god, took Nicias's lands, burned the fields, took the women. He said the land now belongs to Demetrios, son of Poseidon. Then it was a merchant who passed on the road with an empty cart. In Megalopolis, he built a temple with the bones of the farmers who resisted. They say he controls the earth as if it were water, that he makes thorns grow where wheat once was. And then the letter came. Delivered by a dirty boy, the wax seal broken and the edges burned. It bore only one line. The land does not belong to the one who cultivates it, but to the one who desires it. Prepare yourself. I arrive at the full moon. Demetrios. Dion read the message in silence. He folded the parchment. He threw it into the fire. "Who is this Demetrios?" asked Lysander, his eyes shining with the reckless curiosity of youth. "A thief with delusions of grandeur," Dion answered, but his voice trembled. That night he did not sleep. He stood on the porch, looking out at the golden fields under the moonlight, listening to the sound of the crickets and the whisper of the leaves. He knew it wasn't just a thief. The rumors spoke of a man who walked on the earth and made the roots writhe like serpents, of a demigod born of a priest of Poseidon and a spring nymph, abandoned at birth, raised by bandits, and now determined to claim all of Greece as his divine inheritance. And his farm was next. The next day, Dion went to see his only neighbor. Cassian, an ex-gladiator from Corinth, now overweight, with a round belly and a game leg from a poorly healed wound, lived in a stone cabin surrounded by vines. He had been a champion in the southern arenas, known as the Bronze Bear, until a spear pierced his knee and retired him. Since then, he lived on cheap wine, exaggerated stories, and the generosity of the few who still respected him. When Dion knocked on the door, Cassian was lying on a mat, snoring. "Wake up, bear," Dion said, kicking the door lightly. Cassian opened one eye. "If this is about your pig eating my grapes again, I swear I'll." "It's Demetrios, he's coming here." The name made Cassian sit up with a jolt, or try to. Groaning, he leaned on an olive-wood staff. "The sea god's son, here in Laconia, ridiculous. Poseidon hates this dry land. He's not coming by sea, he's coming by land, and he's already taken 12 farms, killed those who resisted, enslaved those who surrendered." Cassian scratched his gray beard. "And what do you want from me? I'm old, fat, and my gladius is rusty." "You still know how to fight." "Fight a demigod. Dion, even the gods fear their bastard children." "I won't fight alone, and I won't run. This land is all I have, it's all my children will have." Cassian sighed. He looked out toward Dion's farm, visible between the hills. He saw Irene hanging laundry. He saw Melantha chasing a butterfly. "All right," he said at last, "but not with swords. Against one who commands the earth, we need cunning." In the days that followed, the 2 men planned. Demetrios wasn't coming alone. He brought 20 men with him, Bandits, deserters, fanatics who believed in his divinity, and he himself was more than human. They said he could make chasms open with a touch, that the trees bowed to his command, that the earth itself protected him. He feeds on fear, Cashin said, as they inspected the property lines. The more you resist with force, the stronger he gets, but if you deceive the earth, perhaps you can deceive him. Dion understood. That night he ordered all the workers to dig false pits along the main road, shallow enough not to be lethal, but deep enough to break ankles. Then, they covered them with dry leaves and loose earth. Next, Cashin taught the men to use hemp nets and grappling hooks, not to kill, but to trap. A fallen god is just a man with a sore back, he'd said, with a bitter smile. But the boldest plan was Dion's. Knowing Demetrios proclaimed himself the son of Poseidon, Dion sent for sea salt from Githio, tons of it. For 3 nights, they spread the salt on the edges of the fields, on the paths, even on the roots of the olive trees nearest the entrance. If he is the son of the sea god, Dion explained to Cashin, perhaps the salt will attract him. But if the earth is poisoned with salt, perhaps even a demigod will feel the burn. Cashin laughed. You learned more from the Spartans than from the gods. The full moon arrived. The wind stopped. The silence fell over the hills like a funeral shroud. And then they heard it. Footsteps, many footsteps, and a voice deep, melodious, almost hypnotic, singing in archaic Greek. Demetrios appeared at the bend in the road. Tall, with hair as black as night and eyes that shone like water under the moon, he wore a white linen tunic embroidered with silver shells. His bare feet touched the earth, and where he stepped, small black flowers bloomed, but they withered seconds later, as if nature itself refused to sustain him. Behind him, his followers, men with empty eyes and rusty weapons, marched in silence. Dion of Laconia, Demetrios called, his voice echoing through the hills. Surrender your land. I am not your enemy. I am your liberator. Under my rule, this land will flourish as never before. Dion came out of the house, with Lysander and Melantha hidden in the cellar, Irene with a dagger at her waist, and Cashin at his side, leaning on his staff, which, Dion noted, concealed a sharp blade. This land already flourishes, Dion replied, with sweat, not with miracles. Demetrios smiled. Then blood shall be the fertilizer. He raised his hands. The ground trembled, the stones moved, the nearest trees bowed as if revering a king. But then, Demetrios staggered. He looked down at his feet. The sea salt, invisible in the dust, was burning his skin like fire. His black flowers withered completely. A cry of pain escaped his lips. What have you done? He snarled. I made the earth inhospitable to gods, Dion said. Here, only what is grown with labor thrives. It was the signal. Dion's men leaped from their hiding places. Grappling hooks flew, nets fell. The bandits, disoriented, fell into the false pits, screaming. Cashin, with surprising agility for a man of his age, threw his blade staff and struck the shoulder of one of the closest followers. Then, he grabbed a net and enveloped 3 men at once. Demetrios, enraged, tried to summon the earth again, but every step on the salt weakened him. His hands trembled. His eyes lost their divine glint. You don't understand, he shouted. I am the son of Poseidon. The earth obeys me. The earth obeys the one who respects it, Dion replied, advancing with a short spear. And you only know how to destroy. In one swift motion, Dion thrust the spear into the ground between Demetrios' feet, not to wound, but to break his contact with the earth. The effect was immediate. Demetrios fell to his knees, gasping as if he'd lost his breath. His power drained away. His eyes returned to normal, human, frightened. Why, he whispered, why are you not afraid? Because I have something more important than fear, Dion replied. Family. At that moment, Cashin arrived, panting with a thick rope. And now, do we kill the demigod? Dion looked at the fallen man, not a god but a bitter orphan thirsting for belonging. Number justice is not ours. The next day, they handed Demetrios over to the authorities in Sparta. His trial was swift. With no proof of divinity, no followers, no power, he was convicted as a common bandit and sent to the mines of Lorien, where, they say, he still digs stone today, muttering about seas that never accepted him. In the following months, life returned to normal. The olive trees blossomed. The oil was sold in Megalopolis. Lysander learned to forge tools with Cassion. Melantha named every tree after a goddess. Irene healed the wounded from the fight with herbs and silence. Cassion, for his part, never went back to his cabin. He stayed with Dion's family, not as a guest, but as an uncle, a master, and sometimes a court jester. An ex-gladiator needs an audience, he would say, while teaching Melantha how to play dice. One night under the stars, Dion asked him, "Why did you stay?" Cassion smiled, looking at the lit house, where Irene was singing to the children. "Because, for the first time since I left the arena, I feel like I'm protecting something worthwhile." Years later, when Dion's grandchildren asked about the day a demigod came to take their land, he didn't speak of glory. He spoke of salt, of pits, of a staff with a blade, and above all, of a fat ex-gladiator who, even with a limp, still knew how to fight for something beyond himself. Because heroes are not born in temples. They are born in olive fields, among calloused hands and silent promises. When a man decides that some things are not to be surrendered. Not to gods, not to kings, not to fear,